Most people think that when you finally get rich, your problems are over. The Machiavellian truth? They've just begun. The world sells you on pursuing wealth as a form of liberation, a finish line where struggle ends and freedom begins. But that's a dangerous fairy tale, and it's designed to keep you weak. True, lasting power comes from understanding a much darker reality. The moment fortune smiles on you is the exact moment she starts putting you to the test. Announcing your success isn't a victory lap. It's a flare sent up in the dead of night, telling every predator in the ecosystem that your fortress is unguarded. It's an open invitation to the envious, the desperate, the manipulative, and the litigious. The single greatest mistake of the newly rich is believing that visibility equals power. It doesn't. Visibility is vulnerability. Money doesn't build character, it just reveals it. It throws a spotlight on the hidden cracks in your relationships, the insecurities in your own mind, and the secret greed in everyone around you. Getting rich is a challenge of accumulation, but staying rich? That's a war of strategy, concealment, and psychological dominance. If you want to build a fortune that lasts, a dynasty that outlives you, you have to learn the art of strategic silence. This isn't a guide to making money. This is a Machiavellian guide to keeping it. Chapter 1. The Problem, the Predator of Envy, and the Isolation of Wealth. Before we can build a fortress, we have to understand the nature of the siege. When you get rich, especially if it happens fast, you're not just changing your bank account, you are fundamentally rewriting your social reality. Psychologists even have a name for the fallout: sudden wealth syndrome, a state marked by crippling anxiety, paranoia, and a deep, profound sense of isolation. Just think of the classic lottery winner. The story is a modern fable told so often it's become a cliché, yet we refuse to learn the lesson. A regular person gets a check for millions. Their first impulse? Pure joy and relief is to share the news. They tell their family, their friends, their coworkers. They imagine a beautiful new life, lifting everyone up with them. But what happens next is as predictable as it is brutal. First, the requests. They start small, almost polite. A friend needs a loan for a sure-thing business idea. A cousin has medical bills. An old acquaintance suddenly remembers a long-forgotten debt. Every request is framed as a tiny thing for someone of your new stature, like asking for a spare pen. But every yes is a signal that the vault is open, and every no is seen as a personal betrayal. The very relationships that were once your support system start to rust. Friends you've known for decades become distant, their words heavy with an undercurrent of jealousy and resentment. They can no longer relate to your problems because, in their eyes, money should have solved everything. You become an outsider in your own life, a walking ATM whose humanity is a distant second to your balance sheet. This brings us to the second stage of the assault: isolation. As your old life frays, you feel a desperate need for connection, for someone who gets your new reality. This loneliness is a gaping vulnerability. You might overspend, trying to fix everyone else's problems, hoping you can buy back the sense of belonging you've lost. Or you might drift toward new circles of wealthy people, accidentally abandoning the very relationships you once held dear. You become suspicious of everyone. Does this new person like you or what you can do for them? This paranoia isn't a character flaw. It's the only logical response to a world that now sees you as a resource to be mined. Finally, the third wave of the assault begins: the professional predators. Unscrupulous financial advisors, opportunistic lawyers, and sophisticated scammers are drawn to new money like sharks to blood. A flashy Instagram post can even bring the wrong kind of attention from tax authorities. You've become a target, not because you're a bad person, but because you're a visible one. The joy of your new fortune is totally eclipsed by the constant, draining effort of defending it. This is the trap of visible wealth. It promises freedom but delivers a gilded cage. It offers power but creates systemic weakness. Celebrating your wealth openly is, in Machiavellian terms, a strategic blunder of the highest order. It's like announcing your position to the enemy before your defenses are built. To avoid this fate, you have to reject this path completely. You must learn to operate from the shadows, to build your power in silence, and to think not like a lottery winner, but like a prince fortifying his kingdom. Chapter 2. Rule 1. Master the art of invisibility. Niccolo Machiavelli famously wrote that if you can't be both loved and feared, it is far safer to be feared than loved. But the truly powerful know a more subtle truth. It's best to be underestimated. In the world of wealth, this means one thing: become invisible. Concealment is your single greatest weapon. Visibility invites envy, attack, and the parasitic attention of those who want to drain you dry. The practice of keeping your financial status a secret is called stealth wealth, and it's the foundation of any real, lasting power. The newly rich always make the same mistake. They use wealth to signal status. They buy the flashy cars, the giant houses, the designer clothes with logos the size of a dinner plate. Sociologists call this vertical signaling, a desperate attempt to scream their new position to everyone on the social ladder. It's a cry for recognition, and it's a fatal error. Those from old money get this instinctively. They practice horizontal communication, using quiet symbols and subtle signals only their peers can decode. Their power doesn't need to shout, it's simply understood. They know true wealth isn't about what you show the world, but about the freedom and peace of mind you secure for yourself. Mastering invisibility is a conscious, strategic choice. It's deciding to live a life that's intentionally understated. This isn't about being cheap. It's about rejecting the tyranny of lifestyle creep, that automatic reflex where your spending rises to meet your income. As your wealth grows, your visible lifestyle should stay pretty much the same. You keep driving a modest, reliable car. You live in a comfortable but not ridiculous home in a neighborhood that doesn't scream, "Rob me." Your clothes are high quality, but they're timeless and unbranded, communicating taste, not a price tag. The psychological payoff here is immense. By step-siding the flashy displays, you dodge the constant pressure to keep up with the Joneses. This cuts down on the anxiety of maintaining a high-status image and lets you ground your life in what you actually value, not what society expects. You're no longer defined by what you own, but by who you are. Your wealth becomes a tool for your fulfillment, funding hobbies, experiences, and time with loved ones, not a performance for an audience of strangers. From a Machiavellian view, invisibility is also a profound form of control. When no one knows what you have, they can't form expectations. You avoid the endless parade of requests for money that plagues the visible wealthy. You can judge people's character far more accurately because their behavior isn't warped by the knowledge of your fortune. You'll know who your real friends are. You also become a much less appealing target for lawsuits and financial predators. Your quiet life is a form of camouflage, letting you move freely and build your empire without anyone getting in your way. Think of your wealth as a military asset. A smart general doesn't parade his best weapons in the town square. He hides them, keeps his numbers secret, and projects an image of normalcy, even as he's amassing overwhelming force. He knows surprise is a key element of victory. Let the world think you're just getting by, while you're actually plotting a conquest. Let them assume your success is modest. While they're busy chasing shiny objects, you're quietly building an untouchable dynasty.
Chapter 3. Rule 2. Fortify your kingdom before you announce your reign. The fantasy of the newly rich is to live off their pile of gold, spending it down like it's an infinite resource. That's the road to ruin. A Machiavellian strategist knows the gold itself isn't the power. The income from the gold is. You don't touch the principal, ever. You live off the interest. Your kingdom isn't the treasure chest, but the system that makes the treasure chest regenerate forever. This brings us to the second law. Fortify your financial kingdom with an unbreachable mathematical wall before you even think about changing your lifestyle. That wall is the 25x rule. The 25x rule is a simple but profound guideline for true financial independence. It says you must have 25 times your desired annual expenses saved in invested assets. Not 25 times your income, but 25 times what you need to live the life you want forever without working again. The math behind it is its inverse, the 4% withdrawal rate. For decades, research showed that if you withdraw 4% of your invested portfolio in the first year of retirement and then adjust that amount for inflation each year after, your portfolio has a very high probability of lasting at least 30 years. The growth of your investments, in theory, replenishes what you spend. Here's how you use it. First step, don't dream about what you'll buy. Meticulously calculate what your ideal life actually costs. Track every single expense. Be brutally honest. How much for housing, food, healthcare, travel, fun? Let's say that number is $100,000 a year. According to the 25x rule, you are not free until you have $2.5 million, $100,000 times 25, invested and working for you. That $2.5 million is your fortress, your freedom figure. Until you hit it, you're still a soldier on the battlefield, not a king on the throne. The beauty of this rule is its brutal clarity. It turns the vague dream of being rich into a hard, measurable goal. It forces you to think in terms of systems and cash flow, not just a lump sum. With a $2.5 million portfolio, a 4% withdrawal gives you your $100,000 a year. The principle, your fortress, stays intact, generating income for life. You're no longer living off your wealth, you're living off the work your wealth does for you. However, a true strategist understands that any rule has its limits. The 25x rule is a starting point, not gospel. It was based on a 30-year retirement. If you get rich early, you might need a bigger cushion, say 30x or even 35x, to cover a longer lifespan. In fact, some recent studies suggest the 4% rate might be too aggressive in today's volatile markets, and a more conservative rate is wiser. The rule also doesn't perfectly account for big one-time expenses or the fact that healthcare costs tend to explode later in life. You also have to be strategic in your math. The rule applies to the income your portfolio needs to generate. If you have other reliable income streams in retirement, like a pension or Social Security, subtract that from your annual needs before you multiply by 25. For example, if you need $100,000 but will get $30,000 from a pension, your portfolio only needs to cover the remaining $70,000. Your target just dropped to $1.75 million, $70,000 times 25, a much more attainable goal. This is the Machiavellian path to freedom. It's not emotional, it's mathematical. It's not about feeling rich, it's about being structurally unbreakable. The average person gets a windfall and immediately starts spending, draining their power. The strategist gets a windfall and immediately puts it to work, building their fortress. They don't upgrade their lifestyle. They don't tell anyone. They live exactly as they did before, funneling every spare dollar into construction until the walls are complete. Chapter 4. Rule 3. See envy as a predator and silence as your armor. Machiavelli argued that love is fickle, held by a bond of obligation that men, being wicked, break whenever it suits them. He said that fear is held by a dread of punishment that never fails. He understood that human nature is fundamentally self-interested. When you get rich, you have to see the envy of others not as a social inconvenience, but as a predator stalking you. Your only real armor against this predator is absolute strategic silence. As we've established, sudden wealth warps your relationships. Friends and family who once gave you unconditional support may now see you through a green-tinted lens of jealousy and entitlement. They're not evil people, they're just human. Their own financial struggles will color your perception of you. They'll rationalize that your good fortune is a collective resource, that they're owed a piece of it. This is the logic of the pack, and you're now the one standing over the kill. To handle this, you can't rely on goodwill or old loyalties. You need a consistent, unbreachable policy. Your first defense is invisibility, Rule 1. If they don't know you have it, they can't envy it. But information leaks. When it does, and the requests for money start, you must learn to say no gracefully, but with the firmness of a granite wall. The key is to frame your refusal not as a personal rejection, but as a matter of disciplined principle. Don't say, "I don't want to give you money." Say, "I have a strict policy of never lending money to friends or family because I value our relationship too much to let money complicate it." Or, I have all my assets tied up in long-term, illiquid investments as part of my financial plan. These aren't lies, they're strategic communications. They shift the focus from your willingness to give to the structural impossibility of giving. You create a system and make yourself a servant to it. The system says no, not you. It depersonalizes the rejection and gives the relationship a fighting chance. And you have to be consistent. Give money to one cousin and the entire family tree will light up. Every other cousin will feel justified in asking. Your generosity won't be seen as kindness, it'll be seen as a precedent. You've just set the rules of engagement and now they're tilted against you. The only winning move is not to play. A Machiavellian mind also uses generosity as a tool, not an emotional reaction. Reactive giving signals weakness. Strategic giving, however, can reinforce your power. Instead of cash, offer resources that empower people without creating dependency. Pay for a financial planning course for a sibling. Connect a friend with a professional mentor. These acts are helpful, but they're not handouts. They reinforce a narrative of self-sufficiency, not reliance on you. Finally, prepare for the psychological toll. The guilt and confusion are normal. You might feel you don't deserve the money, or you might feel ashamed for not sharing it. Psychologists see this all the time with sudden wealth syndrome. It can even lead to self-sabotage, as people subconsciously try to get rid of the money that's causing them so much stress. Recognize these feelings for what they are, a predictable response to a disruptive life change. Find a professional, a therapist or a fee-only fiduciary, advisor to help you navigate it. Your old support circle may no longer be equipped to help. Remember, your wealth is power, and power attracts challenges. Chapter 5. Rule 4. Become a master of systems, not a slave to tasks. The average person thinks about wealth in terms of earning. They trade their time for money. Even a high-earning doctor or lawyer is often just a slave to this equation. If they stop working, the money stops. The Machiavellian mind sees this not as wealth, but as a high-paying job, a golden leash. True generational wealth isn't about earning, it's about building systems. You have to graduate from being a player in the game to being the architect of the board. Your goal is to create a machine that generates wealth completely independent of your time and effort. This is the biggest mental shift you'll have to make. Stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like a monarch. A king doesn't till the fields. He designs the systems of agriculture and commerce that let the kingdom prosper. Your financial life has to be run the same way. Convert your liquid assets, your cash, into systems. So what are these systems? 1. A diversified portfolio of assets. This is the most basic system. As we covered in Rule 2, your invested capital is a machine that works for you 24/7 through dividends, interest, and growth. It's not totally passive, it needs design and periodic maintenance, but its operation doesn't depend on your daily labor. 2. Real estate holdings. Owning rental properties is a classic wealth-building system. With a good property manager in place, a real estate portfolio provides a steady stream of cash flow, tax benefits, and long-term appreciation. You are not a landlord fixing toilets, you're the owner of a system that manages tenants and collects rent. 3. Owning a business that runs without you. Lots of people own a business, but really the business owns them. They're the head of sales, the main technician, and the manager. If they take a vacation, the business grinds to a halt. That's not a system, it's a high-stress job. A true asset is a business so systemized that it runs whether you're there or not. Think Ray Kroc building the McDonald's franchise system, not a self-employed cook. 4. Intellectual property. Royalties from books, patents, or software are another pure form of a wealth machine. You do the work once, and the system pays you for years, even decades, with little extra effort. Your goal is to create multiple, overlapping, resilient systems. A prince doesn't rely on one fortress or one general. He builds a network of defenses.
You should never centralize your power in one currency, one asset class, or one country. Diversification isn't just an investment strategy, it's a survival principle. To manage it all, you build a council of trusted advisors. This isn't the flock of predators who show up when you get rich, this is a hand-picked team of experts you command. It should include a fee-only financial advisor who is legally bound to act in your best interest. They're your chief financial strategist. A tax strategist or CPA. A good CPA doesn't just record history, they help you legally navigate the tax code to minimize what you owe, freeing up more capital to reinvest in your systems. And an estate planning attorney, this advisor builds the legal structures, trusts, wills, and entities that protect your assets from lawsuits and ensure they're passed on exactly as you wish. You are the CEO of your own financial enterprise. Your job isn't to do the bookkeeping. Your job is to set the strategy, hire the best people to execute it, and hold them accountable. You have to shift your focus from doing tasks to managing systems. Your personal effort is finite. A system can work indefinitely and grow exponentially. Money that dies with you is just a lifestyle. Money embedded in a system that outlives you is a legacy. That is Machiavellian power. Chapter 6. Rule 5. Weaponize debt, disarm liability. The average person is taught that all debt is bad. This is a very convenient belief for the banks that profit from your credit card. They teach you to fear debt, to see it as a moral failing. The powerful, however, know the truth. Debt is a tool. It's neither good nor bad. It's a weapon. The fifth Machiavellian rule is to learn the difference between strategic debt, which builds empires, and consumer liability, which creates slaves. Let's get the terms straight. Bad debt, or liability, is borrowing money to fund consumption. Car loans, credit cards for vacations, personal loans for lifestyle upgrades, all of this is bad debt. You're borrowing to buy things that lose value while paying high interest for the privilege. It's a wealth-destroying cycle. Good debt, or strategic leverage, is completely different. It's using borrowed capital to acquire assets that either grow in value or generate income. The principle is simple. If you can borrow money at 5% and invest it in an asset that returns 10%, you've just made a 5% profit using someone else's money. It's called interest rate arbitrage, and it's a cornerstone of building serious wealth. Here's how the wealthy weaponize debt. 1. Real estate leverage, the classic example. Instead of paying $500,000 cash for a property, a strategist puts down $100,000, 20%, and borrows the other $400,000. They now control a $500,000 asset with only $100K of their own money. If the property appreciates by 10% to $550,000, their $100K investment just made a $50,000 profit, a 50% cash-on-cash return. Meanwhile, the rent pays down the mortgage, and the interest is often tax-deductible. Business expansion. A business owner with a proven model can use a loan to scale up, buy new equipment, or expand into new markets. That borrowed money, used strategically, can generate profits that dwarf the interest costs, creating exponential growth. Borrowing against your portfolio. This is a more advanced move. Instead of selling stocks to get cash, which triggers capital gains taxes, a wealthy person can take a loan against their portfolio. These are called securities-backed lines of credit, or SBLCs. They get the cash they need for living expenses or a new investment, pay no capital gains tax, and their original assets stay invested and keep growing. Keep in mind, the interest rates on these have risen with federal rates, so the math has to be even more precise. The difference is intent. The masses borrow for comfort. The powerful borrow for conquest. At the same time, they are ruthless about destroying liabilities. High-interest consumer debt is a financial cancer. In 2025, average credit card rates can easily top 22–23%, a cost that makes building wealth almost impossible. This kind of debt must be attacked with a clear strategy. A prince knows which bridges to burn and which to build. Your liabilities are bridges for your enemies to cross into your territory. Burn them. Your strategic debts are bridges you build to conquer new lands. Build them with care. This dual approach is how you turn the financial system from your master into your servant.
Chapter 7. Rule 6. Make the tax code your servant, not your master. The working person sees taxes as a punishment for earning a living. You get a paycheck, the government takes its share, and you live on what's left. The system is designed to punish income. The ultra-wealthy know this, so they play a completely different game. They've learned the tax code isn't a set of shackles, it's a rulebook filled with incentives, written by the rich, for the rich. Your job isn't to evade taxes, that's illegal and stupid, but to legally structure your finances so the rules work for you. The ultimate expression of this is a three-step strategy known as buy, borrow, die. It's the central engine of dynastic wealth, and it's brutally effective. Step 1. Buy. The foundation is to convert your cash into appreciating assets, stocks, real estate, businesses. The key is what doesn't happen. You don't generate taxable income. A stock portfolio that grows from $1 million to $5 million has created $4 million in wealth. But as long as you don't sell, you owe zero capital gains tax. The wealthy focus on building their balance sheet, not their income statement. Step 2. Borrow. This is the genius of the system. When a wealthy person needs cash, they don't sell their assets. Selling would create a taxable event. Instead, they borrow against those assets using something like an SBLOC. That loan is not income, so it's not taxed by the IRS. They can live a lavish lifestyle, buy new assets, and fund new ventures, all with tax-free money while their original fortune continues to grow in the background, untaxed. Step 3. Die. This is the final, jaw-dropping piece of the puzzle. When the individual passes away, their heirs inherit the assets. Under current U.S. tax law, those assets get a stepped-up basis. This means the original cost is wiped clean. If a founder bought stock for $100,000 and it's worth $10 million on their deathbed, that $9.9 million in growth is never taxed. The heir inherits the stock with a new cost basis of $10 million. They could sell it the next day for $10 million and pay zero capital gains tax. Any outstanding loans can be paid off by selling a small piece of the now tax-free inheritance. This is the loop that preserves dynasties. Now be warned, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 gave the strategy a massive boost by dramatically increasing the estate tax exemption. But that provision is currently set to expire at the end of 2025. On January 1, 2026, the exemption is scheduled to be cut roughly in half unless Congress acts. This isn't a permanent feature, it's a closing window of opportunity. Even if you're not a billionaire, the principles scale. Use tax-advantaged accounts like 401ks and IRAs. Harvest tax losses to offset gains. Use leverage in real estate to get mortgage interest deductions. The point is the mindset shift. Stop seeing taxes as a punishment and start seeing the tax code as a strategic landscape. Your accountant shouldn't just be a historian, they should be your minister of finance, helping you follow the map the government itself has laid out for you for building wealth. We've journeyed through the shadowy corridors of Machiavellian finance, and the principles are as clear as they are brutal. The world of wealth is not a playground. It's a battlefield of power, perception, and psychology. To not only get a fortune, but to keep it is to accept this reality. Let's recap the laws of power. Master invisibility, because visibility is vulnerability. Fortify your kingdom with the mathematical certainty of the 25x rule before you ever announce your reign. See envy as a predictable force of nature and arm yourself with strategic silence. Become a master of systems that generate wealth while you sleep.
Weaponize debt for conquest while you ruthlessly eliminate the liabilities that enslave you. And finally, make the tax code your servant, using its own rules to build a dynasty. Most people will hear this and call it cynical. They'll cling to the fiction that hard work is enough and that the rules are the same for everyone. They will continue to trade their time for money, announce their wins to a world of predators, and watch their wealth get eaten away by social pressure and taxes. They're playing a game they are designed to lose. But true wealth isn't about proving something to others. It's about securing ultimate freedom for yourself. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you've built an unbreakable fortress, a financial structure that exerts its own gravity, silent and unseen. The path isn't easy. It requires discipline and a willingness to see human nature not as you wish it were, but as it is. It demands you conquer yourself, your ego, your impulses, your need for validation before you can conquer anything else. But this is the only path to real, lasting power. Don't build a lifestyle, build a legacy. Don't seek applause, seek dominion. Real wealth doesn't need to prove itself. It works quietly in the dark while everyone else is distracted by the light. If you're ready to master the art of financial warfare, subscribe to this channel. Arm yourself with the knowledge they don't want you to have. And if you found this guide valuable, watch our next video, The 5 People Who Will Betray You When You Get Rich, where we dissect the psychological profiles of those who will inevitably turn on you and show you how to neutralize them before they can strike. The game is always being played. It's time you learn the rules.